Hi, I'm Mackenzie Alldredge.
And I'm Crum.
And we did our project on nonverbal communication.
So what we wanted to do was compare the difference of nonverbal communications between teenagers and adults. And so I went to a track meet and I watched a lot of teenagers. I kind of stalked them for a little bit, so that was fun. And then Mackenzie.
And then this weekend, I had the opportunity to go up to our local ski resort and watch our pond skimming event. And it was a pretty lit event, if I have to say so myself.
Yeah.
So
to start off our presentation, we want to show this quick video real quick. So right here, basically we want to show this video because it's really funny, first of all, but second of all, it shows some really good nonverbal communications. So right here, this bird is invading this other bird's space, and so that's an example of proxemics. And then right here, that's an example of invading someone else's territory, and you can see by this bird that he's pretty annoyed by...
Definitely annoyed.
Yeah. And so this bird is kind of, I don't know.
I would say that bird was definitely like over it. Like they were just like, you guys are so immature.
Yeah, annoyed kind of. And then so right here you can see all of the anger and confusion and annoyance. And this shows they're kind of like, oh my goodness, what is that?
Like they're definitely interested.
Yeah. He's all happy.
And right there, they started to mock him. They definitely get annoyed at that point. So they try to get away from him and kind of treat him like he's the outcast.
And then they start gossiping about him, which is kind of mean. Poor guy.
And all he wants to do is fit in.
So right here you can see, like, he's annoyed and they're all pretty angry right now with him joining them on the power line. And he's just having a good time.
He just thinks life is great.
So right here they kind of get the evil eye going where they recognize what they can do to get rid of this big bird. And then the other birds start chanting and joining in.
And he just thinks life is great right here. He doesn't even realize that there's anything wrong.
And at this point, these birds start to realize what's about to happen, and so this shows they're surprised through their eyes. And then their rapid twittering to show their concern.
And poof, they're gone. And he's just so amazed by these feathers, like.
So then right here you can see how embarrassed they are and how amused this other big bird is because of his laughter, which isn't words, so it's nonverbal.
And when he handed him the leaf, he was trying to be a little bit generous.
Mm-hmm. And then they all hide behind him too, which shows that they recognize him, I guess.
So that was just our video that we thought we'd show that went along with nonverbal communication. I felt like it went pretty good with what our topic is about.
Yeah, definitely. So Kenzie here is going to talk about her experience first, and then I'll go. And then at the end of this presentation, we'll compare and contrast our results, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So this weekend when I was up there, of course, it was more at this point with this event, it was more of an adult like type of event. In this environment, like it definitely had a lot of, everybody pretty much there was under the influence of alcohol. So that was definitely not something that was too great to be around, but we'll let it slide. But definitely, like, the appearances that people, like, their outfits were just crazy and just, like, out there. Like, if they were walking around town, that wouldn't be the norm that they would be wearing, of course, like, crazy, like, outrageous clothing,
you know?
And
she was even telling me before we started this that that there were a couple guys walking around in, like, dresses and, like, bathing suits, you know?
bikinis,
so,
like, it was
and
out
that
there.
just shows, like, their character, you know, maybe it was because of the alcohol, but otherwise it shows that, you know, that their clothing displays who they are.
They're definitely, and like their crazy dancing, like there was music playing, like it was like completely like a party scene, like, and that's kind of like what the atmosphere of like that they were wanting to have for like the end of a season was definitely like that party scene, and it definitely showed that in this environment. Like they're just crazy dancing, just the expressions like on their faces, like, and you could definitely see the defeat when someone didn't make it across the pond and then they ended up in the water and it was frigid, like freezing cold, like water, you know, but nobody cared. Like they were just out there to have fun, and they didn't care that they were out in bikinis and they were in frigid water. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think Kason could go and present his.
You can't really even see our PowerPoint. So I went to track meet this weekend, and obviously there's a lot of teenagers that do track, and so my team arrived there at like 1:45, and my team really likes to play music to get pumped up, you know. But so we had this big speaker that we're all hauling around, and the other teams that were near us, I sat down and watched them, and it was surprising to me that there were more guys that were dancing to the music than there were girls. You know? And like the guys would get this serious, like I call it like the smolder look off of Tango, you know, they'd get that look on their face when they'd look at a girl, you know? And the girl would just like laugh and like play it off, but you could tell like the guy was trying to get attention through, you know, and that was funny. And so then like I have so many examples, I don't even know where to start, but and then like, but one of the things that I did notice that was really common among teenagers was like the proxemics and the physical space between them, because there was one girl and one boy that I probably watched for like 15 minutes, and just the amount of space, like you could totally tell they were flirting just by, I mean, the nudging of the shoulders, and like they were laying on the ground next to each other, and just like he would like grab her hand kind of, in a, you know, and just like the touching that went on, and you could tell that they were physically attracted to each other, and it's just cool to see like there was lots of laughter and smiling in the eyes, you could tell when they crinkled together, and
but no like communication, it's all from the nod.
Well, and that's what, like you couldn't tell that they were like, oh I love you, because they didn't actually say that, you know,
but they were showing that.
Definitely. And then another thing obviously is the clothing that everybody was wearing there. Obviously, well, the first day it was absolutely freezing, and so everybody was bundled up, but then that showed like their preparedness and their character and like their willingness to come out and compete in an event that was, you know, so cold. But the next day was obviously a lot warmer, and then you could tell, and then I went and like watched the spectators, and the difference between the spectators on the first day versus the second day, there were definitely a lot of moms in short shorts the next, you know, on Saturday, and so you could tell their character based on the short shorts they were wearing, or the tank tops, or you know, and stuff like that. And then another common theme I found was the gestures from the athletes. After crossing the finish line, they were either, you know, a fist in the air for victory or the shrugging of shoulders for defeat. You know, and that was obviously the gestures had a lot to do. So
yeah, definitely.
So we're gonna move on to our differences.
So like our differences definitely was our environment. That played a huge factor in that. And then just seeing like the different types of nonverbal communication. Definitely where I was at, there was no like line for anything. Like it was a bunch of adults, like it was just whatever was gonna happen, and then it was okay in a sense. from what they were wearing to, you know, how they were acting, like that is what was going on.
Yeah, well, and I like how you said like, and that was okay. Like you can obviously tell if they're in that type of environment, you know, doing those certain activities, that shows who they are, you know, as a person. And so I thought that's interesting. But and then gestures was obviously another one. You'd said something about crossing the water. Their facial expressions of either I made it or
I didn't.
You know?
And they didn't seem to care either way. Like it was, you know, there were some people that were like, they wanted to win. Of course, it was a contest, so there was trophies that were given out, you know, for like best dress, you know, things like that, coolest trick, you know, and so they were going at it hard to, you know, win these, you know, trophies. Another big difference would have been also like the age difference. Like where I was at, there was a ton of adults, and I'm sure where you were at, there was adults, but it was basically an event for high school students.
Yeah. And you'd said something earlier that reminded me of an experience. So I watched one boy with two girls, and you could totally tell that the guy was trying to get the girls to notice him, but the girls were not. They were mostly talking to each other. The boy, he would like put his hands in his pocket and he would like shift on his feet, you know, like he was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They didn't really pay him any attention, and he wouldn't look directly at the girls. He was always leaning on the fence and staring out at the track field, not necessarily talking to them, you know, like one of the previous lessons we had was girls like to talk like this. And you know, and you've been doing that the entire time.
I've been talking to you.
Yeah, and I've been kind of like this, but like
yeah.
that was obviously one of the things that I saw in this. He would keep rubbing his hands because of how nervous he was. And like the space that was between them, there was like no space between the girls. Like they were kind of like
close. There was no limits there.
Yeah, and then the guy, he was a considerable distance. But the thing that was the most interesting was another boy comes, and it was kind of like two roosters fighting over a hen. You know what I mean? And so, and it was just like the flick of a switch. Like the one boy just left, and then the girls like completely turned away from the track meet and talked directly to this boy. You know, and it's just interesting to see how much physical appearance mattered and physical attractiveness mattered in this situation. You know?
Definitely. And I can see where I was at in the environment I was. Like they were all talking to each other, like they were like close, like, you know, talking at each other. Yeah. And most of these people, they probably never even met in their whole entire life. Like they were anywhere. We had lots of people, I think, that was there from like Nevada and all over Utah. So these people probably never even seen each other before, and they just felt so comfortable with each other.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy that the biggest difference probably between our two different experiments was the environment itself. Just how, you know, you put somebody in a different environment. For adults, you put them in that setting where they were at, and just how, you know, just how that explains who they are. They just
felt more relaxed.
Yeah. Well, and you could tell, and then like from my side, the athletes themselves, you could tell that they were competitive and that they were dedicated and hardworking just because they were at the track meet itself, even in, you know, tough weather and long distance. Like, I mean, most teams that were there had to travel 2 hours, you know, so it's kind of
long ways.
But I think we can both agree that the environment was
definitely a difference.
Yeah, the biggest difference. But that's pretty much what I have to say. Is there anything you want to add? Did we have one more slide?
Let's see.
Okay.
I think we're done.
This is our PowerPoint, by the way.
Our wonderful little PowerPoint.
Yes.
This is the best option that we could come up with, and it works, so that's okay.
I'm trying to think. There was one other thing I wanted to show. No, I think that's
gonna probably be it for us. So we're signing off.
Yeah.